All right, so today we're working on a 1992 or 3, I believe, Toyota Hiace. What we've got today, we have an interesting clutch pedal feel. We've got a woo, like nothing. So, I've been getting into this for a little while here, and the clutch is in a really hard spot to get to because it's a van with a flat nose. You've got the clutch jammed back up underneath here, and I know you can't see very well, but you might be able to notice that the dash gauge cluster had to come out, which required that to come out, and as well to weasel the air duct out because it goes right back in the middle there. The air duct goes between this spot here and this register over here. Honestly, I just kind of crimped it in the middle with my fist and then pulled it out. I'm sure there's like a much more fancy way of doing it, but that's just how I did it because this is really old. So I'm going to try to show you the clutch, the top of the clutch master cylinder is actually right down there. And a very interesting part of this clutch system is that the reservoir is shared with the brake master cylinder. As you can see, the brake master cylinder is here, and the clutch master cylinder is just down here. So it's not horrible to get to. You disconnect this hose from the top of the clutch master cylinder. Just have it tucked there so it won't drain. It goes obviously to the end of this nipple right here. And then you disconnect the pressure line, which on your screen is gonna look like just a little bit of a shiny glob right here. Right there. You can see I'm moving the clutch master cylinder. So you pull that thing out, disconnect it, and it's bypassing fluid inside probably, which is why the pedal is horrible. At the moment, the pedal is like non-existent because of the fact that I've already been working on this a little bit, and a little bit of the hydraulic fluid has drained out of the master cylinder. But it was so bad that when I was driving, if I held my foot on the clutch at a stop sign, eventually the clutch would actually start engaging in gear and the vehicle would start driving forward. So I'd have to pump up the clutch real quick again, and then I would be able to disengage, yank it out of gear real quick before rolling into the car in front of me. So that tells me that fluid is bypassing the seals inside and is allowing the clutch to slowly engage, despite the fact that my foot is fully depressed on the clutch pedal. Yay, it is finally out. So as opposed to most master cylinders, look at the color of that fluid. Awful. So most master cylinders, this separates. For whatever reason, I couldn't get this dang thing to separate from here, from this joint. So it's actually made in there. So you have to pull your pin from the back of the clutch lever. Which sounds really easy, except it's not. I'll show you tomorrow with the daylight why it was not easy. All right, it's time to install this thing. So what I did, I added fluid until it was flowing out both ends. So I had it tipped like this, so that the high point is this one and this part. And I filled it up till it was flowing out of this, so that most of the air is out of this. You might call that bench bleeding. So this has to fit down into this area. The very first thing to do slide it down in there. Now, I don't know if you can see right beside that yellow piece. The line is right there. So I'm gonna reach underneath the steering column and everything. So I can pop this off. Get this clutch pressure line going on. Not always the easiest thing. Okay, not too bad. Okay. So now you take your 12mm. You're gonna tighten this. Now, the bolts are not in to hold the master cylinder, so we can't go super tight yet, right? And then, if you see now, the camera unmounted, we still have remaining the pivot pin and clip to put in back there, 2 mounting bolts, and then we'll tighten that brake pressure line just a little more so that we're real sure it's in well. We obviously don't want that leaking at all. So, all right, so all we have to do, we have the pin in the end of the so now all we have to do is put the clip in here. That'll hold the pin from coming out, obviously. Success. Hopefully you can see that the clip is in the pin, which is holding the clevis, technical term, clevis, on to the clutch pedal. So now when the clutch pedal moves it. All right, so I've decided I'm gonna reconnect this hose while leaving the pressure side of the master cylinder a little loose, so that I can actually work the master cylinder just a touch until I get a leakage at the pressure side to bleed out any air that's inside. So we're gonna pop this off, and then we're gonna, if you can see, there's actually fluid coming out, but I wanted a little bit of fluid to come out so that no air is getting in there. So we kind of flooded that in port with fluid. So now we squeeze our little clamp through there. Trying to put the clamp back on in the same orientation it was, so it holds that line really well. That rubber line so it doesn't leak or anything. So now we can clean up some of the, I had some issue getting the pressure line off, so I sprayed a little penetrating fluid in there. I really don't want that dripping down looking like a fluid leak, so I'm just cleaning that up. So now if we look over here at the reservoir, we'll see something interesting. Okay, so what we just did is we hooked up the master cylinder for the clutch. through this pipe. Now, it hooks into the brake reservoir, so it's a shared reservoir. What you'll notice is that the front part is actually quite high. The back port and the clutch are at the same level. The reason is because this front goes to your front brakes on the Hiace. Obviously you don't want to lose your front brakes. They do like 60% of the work, 70% of the work. Rear brakes do less. So they say, let's share the clutch and the rear brake reservoir fluid. There's a divider in here. So as you top it up above this line, it'll refill all of them. But if any of them go below this mark right here, it's only these two. So if you have a leak in your clutch system, your rear brake system, your front brakes will still work. If you have a problem in your front brakes, guess what? Your clutch will still work, as will your rear brakes. So it's kind of a way to isolate some systems so you have some safety built in, so you don't lose all three at one time from just one little leak. So we're gonna top this up and start bleeding the clutch.